All right, good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday Workshops with Whitney. I will be your host, Whitney. Today we're going to be talking about different emotions that we all might be feeling right now and how we can cope. So it's called anxious, depressed, lonely, languished, burnt out. Join me to discuss a mental health glossary to explain what you're feeling and how to cope. But before we begin, we're going to do our icebreaker. And I'm going to be focusing on how to make these videos more entertaining. And if people would be interested in perhaps some sort of Zoom mental health workshop at some point, let your HHCD office know, and perhaps we could have something that would be more interactive, which I would love as well. So, all right. So as part of our icebreaker, I'm going to ask us a question. And then if you would like to share, you can write in the chat box or text message my work phone, or not share. You don't have to, but I always appreciate when people do, because then it makes it somewhat more interactive. All right, so here is the question. If you were left on a deserted island, either with your worst enemy or by yourself, which would you choose and why? I'll say it one more time. If you were left on a deserted island, either with your worst enemy or by yourself, which would you choose and why? So I'll give us all about a minute to think about it. And if you'd like to share, that would be cool. Well, I guess I'll go then. I think that if I was on a deserted island, that I would rather... Okay. Oh, Modensi, you read my mind. Modensi said she'd pick her worst enemy because it gives you company. And I was going to say the exact same thing, because if you were on a deserted island all by yourself, I'm sure it would get lonely. So even if they were your enemy, at least you had someone to talk to. So thanks for sharing, Modensi. All right. So we're going to move on to this article that I found in USA Today. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns while I'm reading it, please let us know. And I think that, yeah, great. All right. So I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm burnt out. The vocabulary of mental health has seeped into our everyday lives. While some people may use these terms to speak about a specific diagnosis or mental health diagnosis, others use these phrases casually without paying much attention to the distinctions between the different vocab words or mental health words. Emotional exhaustion, for example, isn't a clinical term, but that doesn't mean the experience of it is any less real. So what is the best way to describe that feeling that you can't quite put your finger on? Here's a closer look at what some of the most buzzed about mental health terms mean and when you should use them and how to cope with them. So, first, burnout. If you've been feeling stressed or overworked or overwhelmed at work, you might be experiencing burnout. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is a form of job-related stress that has not been successfully managed. Common symptoms include feelings of energy depletion, cynicism about one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. So, what does that mean? They say you feel like you've been overworked, Maybe you're feeling underappreciated at work. You're having a hard time managing home life versus work life. Maybe you feel like you're stuck at work constantly. Let's see. Some physical symptoms we have is feeling tired and drained most of the time, lowered immunity and frequent illnesses, frequent headaches, sense of failure and self-motivation, decreased satisfaction and sense of accomplishment, withdrawal from responsibilities. Sometimes you end up not doing your job as well as you were before you were feeling that way. So if you're feeling burnt out, here are some tips on how to cope. Let's see. Here. All right. I love this. Dealing with burnout. Dealing with burnout requires the 3R approach. We have recognize, watch for the warning signs of burnout, reverse, undo the damage by seeking support and managing stress, and resilience. Build your resilience to stress by taking care of your physical and emotional health. All right. So it says experts recommend cultivating a healthy work-life balance, a strong support system, and a more positive outlook to combat burnout. So especially with during COVID with having to work from home, I've heard a lot of people have a really hard distinction between when they're done working and having their personal life, because if you're working, it seems like it's harder to stop. So making sure that, if you end work at 5:30, you end work at 5:30, just like if you would be leaving the office. All right, next, emotional exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion is not a specific clinical syndrome, but mental health experts say it can lead to or be accompanied by other mental health conditions like major depressive disorder. The phrase is usually used when talking about burnout, when feelings about stressors and responsibilities mount to the point that someone feels that they don't have any energy left to expand or expend. Emotional exhaustion is a sense of overwhelmed to the point where you feel like you don't have the capacity to deal anymore, said Vale Wright, Senior Director of Healthcare Innovation at the American Psychological Association. It's physical tiredness, it's mental tiredness, it's difficulty concentrating, it's all the things we experience when we're just at our capacity. So I like to think of it as what we talk about, like eggs in a basket, as being maybe like the different stressors in our life, but it's at the point where you feel like people are throwing more eggs in your basket and your basket's kind of overflowing. I guess it's kind of that feeling that a lot of times is accompanied with the feeling of burnout. So they say to combat emotional exhaustion, experts suggest that you set boundaries. Don't try to be a superhero, and hone in on what makes you feel good emotionally. So, I guess I'd say probably don't take on any extra work if possible. Set boundaries. Just like if you are done with work at a certain time, leave at that time, unless it's something you have to stay for. But I think most of the time, we might want to get more done, but it's better to stop work and then have your personal life. All right, next, languishing, which I just learned what this word meant. If burnout was the unofficial 2020 COVID era mental health buzzword, languishing is the 2021 counterpart. Made popular by a New York Times piece by Wharton psychology professor Adam Grant last month, languishing is, in parentheses, the neglected middle child of mental health, Grant wrote. It's the void between depression and flourishing. the absence of well-being. You don't have symptoms of mental illness, but you're not the picture of mental health either. So I kind of think of it as like that kind of like that middle ground. Like you're getting everything done you need to get done, but you might be doing kind of like the bare minimum to get by at the same time, but you're not necessarily depressed, but you're kind of feeling like blah, I guess. Those who find themselves languishing, feeling a lack of focus and a general purgatory between mental wellness and illness, can try to carve out some uninterrupted time to feel better about accomplishing tasks, focus on small joys and victories, and shouldn't feel embarrassed to ask for help just because they aren't dealing with a more serious issue. So, you don't have to have a mental health diagnosis to ask for help. It can be professional help. A lot of people go and get professional help or talk to a therapist online that don't have a mental health diagnosis. The whole COVID pandemic has brought on a lot more mental illness than maybe what we thought we had experienced before. So it's okay to ask for support. It's okay to ask for support with family or friends if you just need someone to vent to. It's better out than in, or being able to talk about how you're feeling. Next, I just learned this word too. Alonely, like lonely, but with an A at the beginning. You likely understand the concept of loneliness, a sadness that can occur when socially isolated, when you're by yourself a lot, which I think a lot of people did feel maybe last year when, like I was thinking like living away from your family, and maybe if you live by yourself and you're stuck at home during the pandemic, that would have been like a lot of isolation. But have you heard of alonely? According to Psychology Today, this is the opposite of lonely. It's a dissatisfaction that comes from not spending enough time alone or with yourself. And during the pandemic, when home, school, and office life has been combined into one space, this feeling is becoming more common, which makes sense because maybe you were used to working in an office and your significant other did too, and then you had your kids at the school, but then for a period of time you were all stuck inside together and you're trying to get your work done and have your alone time, but it was next to impossible to complete everything. Okay. Some people inherently desire more solitude than others, and when it's not connected with shyness or social anxiety, seeking alone time is perfectly well-adjusted thing to do, writes psychologist Virginia Thomas. However, when this desire isn't fulfilled, the feeling of loneliness results, the prefix indicating not as in asymmetrical. So, what can we do if we're feeling lonely? Thomas says researchers suggest deliberately planning alone time to help ease this feeling. And when alone time is scarce, focus on quality moments of solitude versus quantity. Something that has helped me before is, for a period of time, I was meditating on a daily basis. And I was doing like kind of the body scan, which I'm going to walk us through today. So I would, in the morning when I woke up, tell my significant other, I'm going to do like 15 minutes or something. So he would leave the room and it was just me. And then I had my headphones in. Because sometimes if you just have it coming out of your phone, let's say, it's really easy to focus on the background noise. But I would have about 15 minutes by myself with, someone walking me through, the meditation. And that really helped me. Some days I couldn't not hear anything and I'd get really aggravated. But that's just something that worked for me that I wanted to share. All right. Next, anxiety. Many people have anxiety, but not everyone has an anxiety disorder, because having anxiety is a normal experience when you're stressed or when your life changes. Maybe you lost your job, or I don't know. Basically, anxiety, I think, was a huge emotion that came up last year in 2020, because it was kind of like, anxiety is kind of like fear of the future, whether it's a minute ahead, a day ahead, a year ahead of, when are we getting out of this? Are we going to be okay? Am I going to be able to pay my bills or put food on the table? Like, what if, kind of magnified. The Mayo Clinic describes clinical anxiety disorders as involving repeated episodes of sudden feelings of intense anxiety and fear or terror that reach a peak within minutes. And that could be a panic attack. Different types of anxiety disorders include generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, and separation anxiety disorder. So the generalized anxiety disorder is kind of like, well, general. Like you might have anxiety frequently, you might have anxiety attacks, you might not. Social anxiety disorder means that you feel really anxious when you're in a group of people or in a social situation. It makes you really anxious. And then they talk about separation anxiety a lot with children who might have gone through some sort of trauma, or they're not like very attached to the parent, like the bond didn't really happen exactly. So when they're separated from the parent, they get really upset. Experts recommend seeking medical attention if the anxiety is interrupting your work or other parts of your life. If you have suicidal thoughts, get medical care as soon as possible. But like they said, not everyone who has anxiety has an anxiety disorder. If you've ever had a panic attack, it kind of makes you feel like you're going to die, or like your throat's going to close up and you have a hard time breathing. And you don't have a medical condition, because of course something more could be happening. But when I've had an anxiety, some things that have helped me, and if anyone has, like any type of coping skills or tips that have helped in stressful situations, feel free to share. Sometimes like I'll start naming things in front of me. So like right now, for example, I'd say, lamp, picture, photograph, calendar, card, computer, laptop, balloon. And by naming what's in front of you, it's a distraction technique. So you can't worry about what's going on in your head. Sometimes people struggle with anxiety before they go to bed, or they get anxious in the middle of the night about all the things that maybe they need to do the next day. My mom taught me something of counting backwards from 1,000 in your head. And what I think can be helpful is to visualize the numbers, or you can visualize kind of like the sheet kind of jumping over in front of you. And if you start thinking about something else, I would restart. And I can tell you, I've done this a bunch, and only one time out of numerous times I've done it have I gotten to 0. So I think because it's 1,000, most of the time you do fall back asleep. And I do have another Wednesday workshop where I talk about anxiety and how to help with sleep. I was also going to say, if you can, even if you want to spend a little time before you go to bed, writing down a list of maybe some things you'd like to accomplish the next day, you can. And also people who struggle with rumination, or you may have gone through something and you just can't stop thinking about it, giving yourself, they say, a rumination time where you say, okay, I'm going to give myself maybe 5 minutes a day, and I'm going to let myself, the feeling or the fear kind of flood me, or journal about it. But then after that 5 minutes, do something else, distract yourself. Don't let it kind of take hold. And we also have a helpline, an HHCD helpline if you need someone to talk to. So just reach out to your HHCD office. All right, next, depression. Depression is a mood disorder, but depression also can happen in life when perhaps you've lost someone or you're going through some like a divorce or maybe you lost your job. Sorry. Okay. It can begin at any age, but often starts in adulthood and can be spurred by family history, certain illnesses or medications, or stress and trauma. Oh, I'm sorry. So, if you have someone, maybe a parent or a grandparent in your family that has been, you notice that they had depression, maybe they got help for it. It can be hereditary, but I'm not a scientist, so I'm not telling you it is, but sometimes it does run in families. Those who suffer from depression may endure persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. More than just a bout of blues, depression isn't a weakness, and you can't simply snap out of it. Well, clinical depression, according to the Mayo Clinic. Depression may require long-term treatment. So, these are some of the symptoms. Some common symptoms can include fatigue, loss of interest in hobbies, changes in sleep. So you might be sleeping and having a really hard time getting up, or you might not be able to sleep because you're sad or anxious. Changes in appetite or weight. So you might lose weight, you might gain weight, you might feel hungry, you might not feel hungry. And perhaps thoughts of death or suicide, according to the National Institute on Mental Health. Experts recommend psychotherapy, medication, or a combination of the two, though there is no one-size-fits-all approach. So if you are feeling those symptoms, if you're feeling hopeless, stuck, please reach out to your HHC office, and you can perhaps call the helpline, or we can get you connected to someone in the community that can help. So never feel like you can't reach out for help, especially with all of this going on. This is unprecedented, and it's still happening, So, all right, and last emotion we're going to talk about is flourishing, which is pretty much the opposite of everything we've been talking about. Flourishing is the opposite of the terms listed above. If you are thriving mentally, you may be flourishing. In his New York Times piece, Grant described flourishing as the other end of the mental health spectrum. It's the polar opposite of depression, and the term indicates you are at your best as far as your well-being is concerned. You are flourishing if you have a strong sense of meaning, mastery, and mattering to others. So, I don't know if I've ever felt like I was completely flourishing, but that is a great term. So, what did you think about that? Do you feel like you have a better understanding of those terms? Maybe did you feel like there's something you might try out as far as coping? Do you have any tips on ways that you cope with different emotions before we get started on our body scan? I was going to say, let's see, some more. Just finding some more kind of coping skills when I was talking about burnout, which can also be helpful with really a lot of these other emotions as well. Okay, so we got here is reach out to those closest to you, such as your partner, family, and friends. Opening up won't make you a burden on others. In fact, most friends and loved ones will be flattered that you trust them enough to open up to them. And it may strengthen your friendship. Try not to think about what's burning you out and make the time you spend with loved ones positive and enjoyable. And if you feel like you are a burden on your family or you don't really trust them to open up, reach out to us and we will help you find someone in the community that you'd rather work with. Since COVID, there's a lot more therapists that you can talk to over Zoom or perhaps on the phone, so you don't necessarily even need to go anywhere to get the help that you might feel like you need. Let's see. Be more sociable with your coworkers. Developing friendships with people you work with can help buffer you from job burnout. When you take a break, for example, instead of directing your attention to your smartphone, try engaging with your colleagues. Limit your contact with negative people. Absolutely. Hanging out with negative-minded people who do nothing but complain will only drag down your mood and outlook. If you have to work with a negative person, try to limit the amount of time you spend together. And I know that sometimes we don't always have control over who we work with. But that's, I guess, where the boundaries come in. Connect with a cause or a community group that is personally meaningful to you. Join a religious, social, or support group that can give you a place to talk to like-minded individuals about how to deal with daily stress and to make new friends. If your line of work has a professional association, you can attend meetings and interact with others coping with the same workplace demands. Oh, that's a great idea. Find new friends. If you don't feel that you have anyone to turn to, it's never too late to build new friendships and expand your social network. All right. Ooh, I like this. When we talk about finding a balance in your life between work and personal life, if you hate your job, look for meaning and satisfaction elsewhere in your life. Or if you don't have to hate your job, you might be frustrated with it right now. All right, so look for meaning and satisfaction in other areas of your life, maybe in your family or friends, maybe try a new hobby or volunteer work. Focus on the parts of your life that bring you joy. Ooh, I was going to say this one's great. Let's see. Make exercise a priority, which I think is always easier said than done. But even though it may be the last thing that you feel like doing when you're burnt out, exercise is a powerful antidote to stress and burnout. It's also something you can do right now to boost your mood. So they say to aim for 30 minutes, about 30 minutes a day, or they say, I think about 5 days a week, not 7, but also instead of maybe doing the 30 minutes at once, you can try to break it up into 10-minute bursts of activity. A 10-minute walk can improve your mood for 2 hours, apparently. I know that Anicia talked about doing a walking club, so it could be something that you perhaps do at lunchtime, walk around the block, or something that you can do with HHCD, or HHCD you can do with residents. Kind of get you out. I know that being in nature and being outside can be very helpful for your mental health. And when you exercise, it releases endorphins, which are chemicals in your body that make you feel happy. Rhythmic exercise, where you move both arms and legs, is a hugely effective way to lift your mood, increase energy, sharpen focus, and relax both the mind and body. Try walking, running, weight training, swimming, martial arts, or even dancing. That's what I was going to say it was. I love doing Zumba. I go on YouTube and I look up Zumba, and for me, the dancing kind of exercise, like I always have fun doing. Okay. They also say, support your mood and energy levels with a healthy diet. So let's see. What you put in your body can have a huge impact on your mood and energy levels throughout the day. So Minimize sugar and refined carbs. You may crave sugary snacks or comfort foods such as pasta or French fries, but these high carb foods quickly lead to crash in mood and energy. Yeah, I find that if I eat a lot of pasta or bread in the middle of the day, it also makes me feel really tired. Eat more omega-3 fatty acids to give your mood a boost. The best sources are fatty fish such as salmon, herring, mackerel, anchovies, and sardines, seaweed, flaxseed, and walnuts. Avoid nicotine. Smoking when you're feeling stressed may seem calming, but nicotine is a power stimulant leading to higher, not lower levels of anxiety, unfortunately. And we are having a quit smoking class coming up. Steve is going to be leading that, and I'm going to help out. So reach out to HHCD if you'd like to participate. Lastly, drink alcohol in moderation. Alcohol temporarily reduces worry, but too much can cause anxiety as it wears off. Okay, great. I think that was a bunch of good advice or good tips. All right. So lastly, we're going to do our body scan. And this is out of the Living a Healthy Life with Chronic Conditions book. This is a class that Steve and I are going to be doing over Zoom where you can learn how to live a healthy and happy life with a chronic condition. If you're interested, reach out to HHCD. We can get you signed up. You get a free book, a binder. It's a 6-week course, and we meet once a week. And we both had to take it already, and I thought it was really great. So, all right. So, you're sitting in a chair, try to get comfortable, sit up straight, put your feet flat on the ground, and you can put your hands on your lap or maybe to your side, whatever's comfortable. If you'd like to close your eyes, you can, but you don't have to. All right. As you get into a comfortable position, allowing yourself to begin to sink comfortably into the surface below you, you may perhaps begin to allow your eyes gradually to close. From there, turn your attention to your breath. Breathing in, allowing the breath gradually to go all the way down to your belly, and then breathing out. And again, breathing in and out, noticing the natural rhythm of your breathing. Now, allowing your attention to focus on your feet. Starting with your toes, notice whatever sensations are there. Perhaps warmth, coolness, whatever's there. Simply feel it. Using your mind's eye, imagine that as you breathe in, the breath goes all the way down into your toes, bringing with it new, refreshing air. And now, noticing the sensations elsewhere in your feet, not judging or thinking about what you're feeling, but simply becoming aware of the experience of your feet as you allow yourself to be fully supported by the surface below you. Next, focus on your lower legs and knees. These muscles and joints do a lot of work for us, but often we don't give them the attention they deserve. So now, breathe down into the knees, calves, and ankles, noticing whatever sensation appear. See if you can simply stay with the sensations, breathing in new fresh air, and as you exhale, releasing tension and stress and allowing the muscles to relax and soften. Now, move your attention to the muscles, bones, and joints of the thighs, buttocks, and hips. Breathing down into the upper legs, noticing whatever sensation you experience. It may be warmth, coolness, a heaviness, or lightness. You may become aware of the contact with the surface beneath you, or perhaps the pulsing of your blood. Whatever's there, what matters is that you are taking time to learn to relax. Deeper and deeper as you breathe in and out. Move your attention now to your back and chest. Feeling the breath fill the abdomen and the chest. Noticing whatever sensations are there. Not judging or thinking, but simply observing what is right here, right now. Allowing the fresh air to nourish the muscles, bones, and joints as you breathe in and exhaling any tension and stress. Now, focus on the neck, shoulders, arms, and hands. Inhaling down through the neck and shoulders, all the way down to the fingertips. Not trying too hard to relax, but simply becoming aware of your experience of these parts of your body in the present moment. Turning now to your face and head, notice the sensations beginning at the back of your head, up along your scalp, and down into your forehead. Then become aware of the sensations in and around your eyes and down into your cheeks and jaw. Continue to allow your muscles to release and soften as you breathe in nourishing fresh air and allow tension and stress to leave as you breathe out. As you drink in fresh air, allow it to spread throughout your body, from the soles of your feet all the way through the top of your head. And exhale any remaining stress and tension. And now, take a few moments to enjoy the stillness as you breathe in and out. Awake, relax, and still. Now, as the body scan comes to a close, coming back into the room, bringing with you whatever sensations of relaxation, comfort, peace, whatever's there, knowing that you can repeat this exercise at any appropriate time and place of your choosing, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Great, so that was a body scan. Next week, I'm going to be doing the episode I was supposed to do last week, but I was out, and we're going to talk about how to cope with the loss of a loved one who passed due to COVID. So I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you all soon. All right, bye-bye.